All right, so today we have our panelists. Our panels will be moderated by Michelby Whitehead. She's the PR strategist for Michelby & Co. Also, Bridgett Holden will be joining Michelby on stage. Principal owner of She Bridges PR. No, I saw her. There she is over there doing her thing. Chelsea Creel, marketing and crisis communications consultant. Chelsea, okay, and then Jevon Wood. Jevon Wooden is the business growth strategist of Live, Not Loathe. I really like that. Live, Not Loathe. So make sure you give it up for your panelists. They're going to join the stage right now. I'm going to get out the way.
Hello, everyone.
Ooh, that was sad.
It was.
Hello. Good morning.
We're going to go ahead and get started with this great panel. So my first question for all of you is, how did you choose a career in PR?
Oh, me. Oh, that's right, PR. Well, actually, PR chose me. I was working in radio at the time. I was building a new house and planning a wedding. Crazy, I know, all at the same time. And my 4-year-old son at the time was starting to have tantrums. And they were like, well, you need to, work that out. Because I was like, wait a minute, that's my child, So I went to go check on him, and then they wanted to write me up. So I'm telling you guys USA Today version. They wanted to write me up, and I was like, I'm not signing that, because I'm here before the lights come on, I leave and everything. And so I gave them my 2 weeks. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, I need a publicist. Now, I was in the television industry and in radio. And then I was like, well, I'll write a press release for you. And I ended up getting her on, what was that? One of those shows out here and on radio. And I wrote an article for her. And she goes, you should be my publicist. And I was like, okay. And so that's how I got started. She wrote me a check, and I opened up a DBA and, bank account, and that's how I got started.
Awesome.
That's funny because we both started out in media first.
Okay.
I actually started out as a news reporter and a news anchor, and was out in the field doing my thing, and actually got in a really bad car accident.
Can't hear you.
All right, there we go. Long story short, got in a really bad car accident, had to have some surgeries, went back home to New Orleans, and after I had the surgeries, I was like, I need a job where I can sit down. I have a minor in criminal justice, so the only thing that allowed me to sit down from what I saw online job-wise was being a 911 dispatcher.
Oh, wow.
So I did that for about a year, and then they had an opening in the public relations department. And they knew where I came from, and they knew my story, and they're like, why don't you just try it? Like, that side of it, so why don't you just try it? And that's literally how I got my start, and I've loved it ever since.
Nice.
So for me, I just feel like as a personal brand, as a business owner, I had no choice but to get into PR. As everyone has to share their brand. So I started off originally focusing on life coaching. That's what Live Not Loathe, that's where that name came from. But I noticed that a lot of business owners were the people coming to me because they were overwhelmed. They had to wear many hats. They didn't really know where to go, how to get that attention. And I realized that I was getting a lot of offers from the media for Forbes and all these different organizations and companies to write for them. So I took what I learned and reverse engineered it, and now I use that and leverage it for my clients. That's really how I got into PR.
Nice.
Awesome. So, everybody thinks they need PR just because they have a social media following or because, they're making the money. But there are some cases where businesses just are not ready. So in your opinion, when would you say a business is not ready to hire a publicist?
When they think that there's no story to what they do. It's just advertising. Because sometimes I have to tell people, you don't have a story. It has to be news relatable and something. And if I can't find something that is news relatable, then it's just like, hey, let's do a media buy and still get it out there in that way. Or I'll try and come up with something for the community that they can give back. but that's conscious also, because you know you have people that'll just hop on the bandwagon for certain things at certain times, like Black History Month, you know, certain things like that. So, but a lot of times they have to know that if it's not, you know, like I said, newsworthy, then no.
It's true. Chelsea, what do you think?
I think when a company doesn't know who they are, kind of at the core, or who they serve, or
That part.
what's the purpose, and you can tell normally just from having one conversation with them, you know, it's kind of scatterbrained and kind of all over the place. Well, we want to do this, plus this and this and this.
Yeah.
It's like, but what's your expertise? Like, what are we working on here? I've worked with, you know, people to kind of get to that mold, but I think the work has to be done on the ground level first to say, what are we doing? Why are we here? Who are we serving? And usually, once you have that, it's easier to go forward with like, okay, what are we doing with the logo? What are we doing with colors and things of that nature?
Yeah, I agree with what Chelsea stated. You really have to know your why. You know, what did you start this for? What do you want to be known for? Who you want it to resonate with? Because if you're not sure who you're targeting, your message is going to be incohesive. It's going to be incoherent. And when you go to be portrayed as that thought leader or that expert, they're not going to know what they're bringing you in for. So you really want to know what you want to be known for. And then it has to be something that you can carry for years, right? Because it's really hard, even when you do a changeover or you rebrand and all that stuff, that is still carried with you. So you have to know what your brand purpose is, and then you have to know how to convey that.
Bridgett, can you explain the difference between PR and advertising? Because I think the lines get blurred a lot, and sometimes the consumer buys into advertising thinking that they've gotten this huge press, and it's really not the case.
So PR is, the simple definition is how the public relates to you, your business, your brand, or your product. And if someone is talking about you, then that's public relations. When you talk about yourself, it's marketing. And when you have to pay for it, like you said, then that's advertising. And a lot of times, like you said, you know, the lines are blurred even with marketing. So it's blurred across the, you know, the board between PR, marketing, and advertising. And people think that, you know, when I buy an ad, then that's going to control the masses. But you have to know who your target market is, for one, crossing over into marketing, and then that's who you want to brand to. So PR is that branding part because you want people to talk about you. Case in point, was something recent in the news that happened. Anything you guys want to pick, because there's so much going on. But if you choose, you know, you talk about that, and then it's kind of like, well, oh, for example, you know, Adidas did, I don't know if you guys saw the swimsuit with Adidas. Anybody saw that? And where they had the male from the LGBTQ community, and women were upset about that because he was wearing the bathing suit, and they were talking about his package. And so people were like, women were like, hey, am I going to get the bathing suit with the package as well? And they were offended across the board. And so with that, Adidas did what they wanted to do, which was have people talk about it, good or bad. So press, for me, for my clients, whether if it's good or bad, it's still PR. People are talking about it. So that's the difference, where advertising is more controlled because you can then buy who you want to send your message out to.
I also think that the scape of news has changed within the last 5 years. You know, what we used to call news is not really traditional news anymore. How has that affected each of your jobs?
I'll say when I went to school for broadcast journalism, you know, they gave us the warning. I guess we were in that group where it was slowly transitioning from broadcast to you need to start learning how to write for an online audience. You need to learn to start recording things so that videos can go online. So at this point in life, everything's on your phone. Everything is on your phone. So that's why I try to get people really involved on the social media aspect of it all, and then also the website side of it. The younger generation, I'll say it like that, definitely, they like their stuff short, straight to the point, concise. They don't want to spend all their time reading, you know, a bunch of things. So I try to, even though we like to give good bit of details, nowadays, we get straight to the point, tell it like it is, and then also that's how it is on the media end of it too. You know, some people like to say reporters are lazy, but it's more of they just don't have the time. So when they get the email, they want to know in the first 3 sentences, okay, what are you telling me? What's happening at this time, whatever. And then that's how they decide after the first 3 sentences. And if you don't catch their attention, that press release, all right, next. So just trying to make sure you're staying on top of it and keeping it short, straight to the point.
Yeah, and I also think that everyone is a journalist these days. We all have a platform. We all have a voice, and we have to consider that. You know, the term influencer to me is a misnomer. Right? We all are influencing someone or something with our platforms, and we have to be conscious of that. So whether we're putting out what we did in that day, whether we're putting out some educational content, we have to be conscious of that, especially if you're talking about having a positive reflection on your brand, right? You all have a brand, personal brands. So we have to consider that. What do you want to be known for? And be conscious of that. That lives forever. Even if you delete it, that's still somewhere. It's still stored somewhere. So just be conscious of that. So because if you make it big, someone's going to pull that up and say, 13 years ago, you said this, right? We see it all the time. So just be conscious of that everyone is a journalist, and there are people who support you, but there's also that other side. People want to be known for the person that brought you down. So just be mindful of that.
And if I could add, it's so funny, Chelsea, when you said, when you're in school, you talked about videos and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm the oldest one up here, you guys. So we didn't have that. It was like off the fax machine, off the AP. Yes, I said fax machine. And so we were actually where we had to write our own stories for the newsroom, because I went from, media news and then radio and then to owning my own PR company. But even with sending a press release now, like you said, it's short to the point. So I've had to go through, because, I was born in 19, but, so I've seen the industry change, and, I've had to keep up, so I surround myself around millennials and these Gen Z babies.
What do you guys think about AI? And do you think it's going to affect media in a positive way eventually, or do you see it as a problem?
I think it's something that needs to be controlled. Just like recently, Donald Trump, they had the pictures out, and everybody thought that was him, but it was AI generated. And, being arrested and he was acting a fool. But that wasn't him. And so it has to be some kind of way we have to be able to control it, because if we don't, it can get out of hand, because long gone are the days to where they fact check, I mean, he did say fake news, and that's what it's generating. So, but that's where we're going to, and it could be good or bad.
Yeah,
So-
and that's my my specialty. My background is actually IT cybersecurity, so I love this topic.
Well, go right ahead, sir.
So with AI, it's just the same as blockchain, right? With blockchain, they have a way to check it. You have a timestamp, so it's called non-repudiation, where you know exactly who did it and when. So they're looking to do that with AI as well. We have platforms like Midjourney, where people are generating those images and those videos that you're seeing. We have ChatGPT. They're looking to put that timestamp and also have it where they can repudiate. They know exactly who did it and where, and they're using your IP address. They're using your, we have signatures, right? Your certificates, all those things in order to kind of leverage that and hone it in. Now, when it comes to regulations, that's a different story, because the government takes forever to do anything. So you're not going to see it. There has to be precedents in the courts before we start getting some type of criminal precedent set. But I think that it's always give and take with any technology, right? Yeah. There are people who are going to leverage it for great reasons. It allows us as entrepreneurs and business leaders and owners to really expedite, to multiply our workforce, so to speak. So that's where the plus comes in. But the minus is, like you said, it could stifle creativity. People just generate things and say they're a thought leader, right? We see that all the time. Everyone knows everything that comes out magically. It's because they just generated on ChatGPT and say, I know this. So those are the give and take that we get with any technology.
Yeah, I had somebody recently reach out, a client, and she was saying she needed a press release by a certain, it was kind of last minute. And she said, well, I can just make one. I was like, well, what you about to do? And she said, oh, the AI, I can do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? And within like 15 minutes, she sent it to me. Now, it's not on the level of any of us would write it, but it's the basic information. I was sitting there and I'm like, that could be so dangerous, but then at the same time, well, harmful for us as PR professionals
Right.
because it's like, this is my job.
Right.
But I think we're gonna have to learn different aspects of it just because of situations like that, so we can have it in our toolkit.
Exactly.
I'm not a fan of it, but when she said that, I'm like, wait,
Right.
what you mean you can write about it? So it made me say, you know what, maybe I need to dig into everything that it can produce and whatnot, and then really
And
sit
use it to
down.
your advantage.
Yeah, so,
But the one thing we have are relationships.
right.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, not to be rude, but that's our
that's
money.
true.
We have the relationships where
Right.
we've, built those over the years. So you can do the AI and send it out, but if you don't have the relationship, it's
That's
not
right.
going
Yeah.
to garner anything, I think.
And we also have to think about the emotional aspect of it, and that's what AI cannot replicate.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, that emotional component. We need that human connection, that human aspect, and then your tone of your brand. You know, how you actually convey your messaging.
Exactly.
The AI can't replicate that.
Right, because you have to put in what you want it to generate,
Right.
and then it just, it's a
Exactly.
bot, so it puts
Right.
it together for you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say it's getting a bit more advanced because you
For
can
sure.
put, if you want it to be formal, if you want it to be funny, so it's trying to work on that emotion part. But my next question for you guys is there a celebrity that you would do crisis management for? And if so, what would that plan look like?
Well, y'all answer first.
Go ahead, Jeff. You're the crisis manager expert, so.
I don't know if I would say crisis management, but I feel like there's a disconnect. Y'all don't beat me up, please. But I feel like, y'all know who Chloe Bailey is?
Yeah.
I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's one of two things happening. Either the marketing team, when it comes to her, doesn't know what to do with her, and they don't know how to put her out there, or she's not liking what they're telling her, and she's like, I'm gonna do my own thing, sort of. I wish they would have taken a little bit more time to really say who she is. Like, I think her sister has more of this, like, identity of, like, we can already tell the type of work she's gonna do. Like, she's in the new Color Purple that's coming out. Like, she just did The Little Mermaid. Like, we
Mermaid,
can
yeah.
already tell where she's going. Whereas I feel like the foundation wasn't laid out for her, which isn't fair. I think it's completely possible to turn it around, but I think it just takes time and consistency. And I think because we haven't seen consistency, so a lot of people are kind of like, well, what? I don't understand. This is too much, or it feels like it's too much. This doesn't feel authentic. So that's just someone who I automatically think of, where I'm just like, I hope they're doing right by her, when I think about her.
Okay.
That's a good one. I would say Ja Morant. I would say Ja Morant. The young man is he's caught at a crossroads right now, and I would love to just not even do crisis management, just keep it real with him. Just talk to him and let him know, like, that's not your lane, bro. Like, I get that you want to still have those ties and you want to be seen like that, but for what? What is the reason? What is your purpose? And again, it ties to what you want to be known for. And he has no need to be known for that, right? He has a platform that he can leverage where he can take others out of that community, right? And uplift them, sort of like LeBron did with his team, right? So I would really let that sink in with him and just sit him down and say, hey, if we got to sit in this room for days and really resonate and get you clear on what you want to be known for, that's what we're going to do.
Wow. I don't have one.
You don't have one? Okay. Okay. What are you guys' final thoughts just about PR and where it's headed for Black businesses, or where it should be headed for Black businesses?
Me? Okay. I love these conversations. This is why I was so excited to be on this panel today. I believe that Black businesses, we are in a great time these days. We have so many resources, but the reason why I wanted to be on this panel is to let people know where those resources are. A part of being known and what people see you as is how you can help them, right? That's what people are going to ask. What can I get from you? And for me, getting out here and sharing platforms such as this allows me to let people know how to access capital. It allows me to let people know, like, hey, if you're struggling with your branding, there are pro bono resources. There are mentorships that you can get for free. So I see PR as really elevating. Everyone in this room can leverage it right now, right? Like I said, you all have a personal brand, even if you have not started your business yet. Lean on your personal brand. Whatever your expertise is, start putting yourself out there. If you're not on LinkedIn, start leveraging it today. Start making those connections, because that is what we are here for. It is purported that, black businesses are going to fail within the first 5 years. Well, let's change that, right? We are in a room together today. Why not make these connections and start being our own PR firms, right? Start helping one another out, getting the messages out there today. And that's what I challenge everyone to do.
The New Orleans in me might come out right now, but because I'm passionate about this. Especially if you're working in a predominantly white place, first off, for black businesses, we can do the work. We know how to do the work. We're professionals. We can do it just as well as them. That's just how I feel about it, period, point blank. So don't let anybody try to make you feel like you're less than or you have to consistently prove yourself. But if you're still working, in an institution, and let's say you're one of the few black people there, I always tell people, give it a year. Give it a year, and if you're at a point where you realize everything I'm saying, and you're well into your career, but you do good work, you've had success, and you know that you are great at your job, give it a year. And if it's past that point and you feel like it's disrespectful and your voice can't be heard and like you're treated as if you're just someone who does errands or tasks, walk. Know your worth. We have to know that. We can't always be in positions where we feel like we have to prove ourselves every single day, because that is wearing on your mental health. And yes, that's something we've learned as we get older, like, yes, you have to be twice as big, but at a certain point in life, when you know how far you've come and how hard you've worked, you've got to get to a point where you say, you know what? I've done everything I can for this client for a year. They've been fighting me every day. I think it's time for me to look elsewhere, or even take that as motivation to go and do your own thing. But that's something I really like to drive home, because I hear a lot of our people saying, sometimes when I'm in those spaces, I don't feel like I'm on their level. No, they hired you for a reason. They know you're good enough. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes we face the unfortunate. So that's something that it's really important to me.
So for me, first things first is that I would like our people to know that we need PR and branding, because a lot of times we don't think it's important, first of all. So you have to have that mindset, and that it's an investment. And then, not, like you said, arguing with the person, I work with my clients, because they may have an idea and I may have an idea, and then together we can mesh to, and make it great. But I don't think we just want to build it, that saying, build it and they will come. That's true. We were saying that earlier, but you have to brand it, you have to market it, you have to advertise it so that people can come. Not just who you have your target market, but to expand your reach. And I think we feel like sometimes that we're not enough, or that we have to work harder. And in some cases we do, but we are worthy. And I think every day we try to prove, as a black business owner. I've been in business now for 21 years, you guys. 21. Thank you. And I appreciate that. And that's nothing far from, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs. And I've seen a lot. But this is something that I really love, because I have a gift for this. And that's something that, I really want to drive home, is that, hey, you have a great brand, you have a great product, or this is not the story, this is the story. But then sometimes people want to hold on to that, but no, do you want to get your brand out there or not? So trusting us as professionals, as experts, that branding and PR is great for your company, to put that as a line item on your budget. A lot of times people don't do that. You have to have that as a line item, because if you're doing it from your budget, from your job, until you get to a point and then something happens, and then the first person to go, is the PR person. And the thing you have to know about us is that once we start the wheels turning, meaning we've written the press release, we've contacted our people, and then you want to pull the plug, that looks bad on us because those are our relationships with the media. And so when you say, oh, I can't afford you anymore, and then it's like, well, but you have this interview lined up. And a lot of times I go ahead and let them have it because I don't want to ruin my relationship, with the producers, but that puts me in a bad limelight. So I just feel like just have the right mindset when you hire a publicist or a PR firm.
Well, at this time, we're going to go ahead and throw it to you guys in the audience if you have any questions for the panelists.
Oh, wow.
You have a mic?
Is there a mic?
The mic's in the middle. You just
Oh.
stand up, yeah.
Run, Forrest.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, in the last few years, clout has been the most important thing, it feels like. People seem to think that as long as people know your name, years later they may forget what you did, but at least they'll remember who you are, right? How do you see that changing in the future? Do you think that the message and the actual things that you do with the internet, like you said, AI recording everything that you're doing on the internet, will that still continue to be important, or is it just getting your name out there like the Adidas ad, where good or bad, they just want you to talk about it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, for me, I believe that everything you do needs to align with your values. So I'm not a big proponent of clout. I don't clout chase, right? I say what I feel, and I'm going to stand on that. And I think that all brands should do the same, right? But you have to have something that you stand on and you're not willing to compromise. So if you're known for that, great. If you're not, there's someone listening, there's someone paying attention. Remember who you're looking to impact. And when you're looking to impact them, make sure you're aligned with that. Don't worry about everything else that's going on because that's just noise. If you do that and do this and then try to come back, that's when you're going to have issues. And people really see that. And these days, people like authenticity and they like transparency. And your consumers know the difference.
Yeah.
So remember that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Go up to the mic.
Great question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Really enjoyed the session. Quick question from me. So for most CMOs, one of their top challenges right now was really quantifying the effectiveness of marketing from a bottom line perspective. I'm curious in terms of, from a PR perspective, how are you thinking about correlating reputation to revenue?
Reputation to revenue? So that's a good question because I always make sure that my clients and their messaging is always constant, concise, and consistent. And so when I deal with politicians, they have a tendency to waver, and I say, no, you have to have the same message across the board. And so when you have the same message across the board, people do business with people that they know and trust, period. So if they can trust you, then your message stays the same, and that turns into revenue dollars. And just from the AI question, same thing goes there as well. As long as you have that human touch, the humanity doesn't go away, because although it's coming, we can't stop it, it's coming. However, people still want to know that they can feel and touch someone. We're humans. So that's how I feel like it'll turn to revenue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think purpose and profit are directly intertwined. So again, like I was speaking on earlier, like you have to have something you stand on. And one of the ways I look at PR and branding and to look at its impact is you could set up like Google Alerts, and it's a platform called Talkwalker. Set up Google Alerts, Talkwalker Alerts, and see, if you put a campaign out there, or you put some efforts out there, see if your brand is being mentioned. And that's one of the ways, because with branding and stuff like that, sometimes it's not about the quantitative, sometimes it's about the qualitative impact.
Did we answer your question?
I'm gonna be
Chelsea?
real quick.
Yeah, go
Real
ahead.
quick. It made me think of, at one point, I was working for a school, right? And something that I told them at the time was, and I do this with every client I have, you have to find ways to also highlight your people, the people who are working there,
That's
and then the
good.
people that you serve.
Yeah.
So if they see that they're being recognized, like I was telling somebody, May was Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. take the time to shout out a couple of people in your agency or a couple of people within the community who are helping you guys out. Just like constant loop of that. You want to give people the chance to feel like they're heard and like they belong.
Yes.
And when that happens, people stick around. They tell people about how they feel great when they're with you, and it just keeps feeding. So having that authentic way and being empathetic through your work, I find it pays off.
That's good.
I guess if I could just kind of drill deeper, certainly, we've had some really good sessions. Earlier, someone talked about, typically it's about 6 or 7 touch points to being able to make a purchasing decision. We certainly know that we live in an omni-channel world, right, where email, where earned media, where owned media, where share, they all play, clearly important roles. We've heard a lot about attribution modeling. We've heard a lot about market mix modeling. I guess some of the answers that I'm hearing in terms of, from a PR perspective, are more directional as opposed to direct, and certainly I kind of get that. But if you were to work in tandem with the marketing department or within advertising to really be able to quantify again the impact that reputation plays, how are you doing that in tandem, considering that it's 6 or 7 touch points that everyone is playing a role in to actually be able to drive a purchase? And then I promise I'm gonna sit down.
So I feel like I said earlier, across the board, PR, marketing, and advertising all work together. They all go hand in hand. And so it's just like knowing what your left hand and your right hand is doing. So that would consist of getting with that client and sitting down with all 3 areas and making sure that the marketing message is the same as the PR message, as the advertising message. So as long as the branding is across the board the same, then it should be able to quantify. And to Chelsea's point, when she was saying, be empathetic as well as sympathetic, and talk about the people in your industry and have your hand on the community. Because as long as if they feel like you care, then like Jevon was saying, they'll continue to talk about, what you do. And that's what PR is, the public talking about you. How do you relate to the public?
Oh, and I was going to say, I think that user-generated content tells everything. And then you can run some climate surveys, see what people know you for, see if it's what you want to be known for, and that's internal and external. And then also, if you're running some type of campaigns, see what the cost per acquisition, the cost per click, the cost per all of that. Put that, and then see if it correlates with what you're looking for. You make sure your KPIs and your your OKRs are in alignment, and then just see if you're hitting them, because it's going to take a while. Some of this thing is just try. You're just trial and error to see what's working and what's not, and you got to track that, right? There has to be some data that you're tracking, some number that you want to hit, and that's how you're going to know if it's effective or not.
Thanks. Sending now.
Hey y'all, great talk. My question is more for business owners of figuring out when does the right time, or how do you know as a business owner that it's time to hire a PR agency? So with my business, I've gaining some traction, doing all the things, been in Business Insider and got some press opportunities, but it's just from me kind of responding to things, reaching out and pitching myself. Mm-hmm. So how do we know when it's the time to invest in hiring and working with one of you guys for our PR?
At the very beginning.
Okay.
I'm being serious. So that's what I was saying. We don't put that line item down there, because if you have a great business, product, or brand, or service, you should, if you're not ready financially, revenue-wise, or to make that investment, at least start talking to publicists or PR agency and see what their practices are, to see if you mesh with them and if they align with your messaging. Because some people, if I don't align with your messaging, I can't represent you, because I sleep very good at night, and we have to be on the same morals and values. For me, that's just me. Mm-hmm. So for you, as a business owner, if you've been in business, 6 months to 2 years, and things are starting to get very popular, like you said, you kind of pitch yourself, or you find opportunities. When it starts becoming a little bit cumbersome for you, then it's like, okay, well, I can't do everything, and I'm ready to expand on another level. So let me look at some agencies. Oh, that's right, I looked at this person, we kind of had something there. Or I looked at this person, and then choose from 3, have them write a proposal or meet with them, and then see what aligns with your budget and go from there. But from the beginning, everybody, you should have PR, branding, and marketing, advertising as a line item in your budget when you're starting out.
Yeah, and I would say if you can't afford it, there are options
Right.
out there for you. I'm an ambassador for Verizon, has a program called Verizon Small Business Digital Ready, and it's free. And you can sign up, you can get some free coaching sessions, things like that. SBA, they have SCORE, right? It's a program, they give you a free mentor. Things like that are how you can use it until you get to that point where you can afford. So don't think because you don't have that budget and it's, times are hard for you that you cannot continue to grow and flourish, because you
Yeah,
can.
but there's a difference with hiring a publicist. That's cool, but we do something different, sir.
I get that. I'm understanding that. But what I'm saying is, as a business owner, you're not always going to be able to
No,
afford
it's
those
right,
things,
but those things are good, but as they go, then you're ready to, have that publicist
Right,
because you've gotten
absolutely.
your brand out there.
I'm with you.
Okay, just saying, don't be trying
Thank
to
you
take
so
my job.
much for your question. Well, we have 1 minute left, so we want everybody to get a chance.
Thank you all for such great insights. I wanted to ask, what are some best practices or principles we could take from PR strategies to apply for our personal brand?
Chelsea?
Ask the question again, because I was about to say something.
So yeah, just with taking some of the key learnings from PR strategies, what are some of those things we could apply to our personal brand?
I would say for the consistency, you want to get to a point where for your brand, people know the second that they look at your things or they scroll past it on social media, they know based on the colors, they know on the content, they know on the type of photography, oh, that's such and such business. And they once they have that consistency, it's almost as if they just want to stick with you because they know what to expect. They like to say, oh, people like surprises, but sometimes with businesses, they're like, no, we don't like all the surprises. We want to know what you're going to give us. So I think staying consistent and guarding your brand. If you do hire somebody, just make sure they don't come in and completely change
it.
everything
Yeah.
to where people are like, I don't even know who this is anymore, or
Right.
there's pure confusion. So just guarding the brand with your life, and people might think you're crazy, but it's worth it. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say get clarity, right? When it comes to PR, you want to make sure that you're clear. You should be able to distill down what you do in 1 or 2 sentences. That way, you're really clear on what you want to be known for.
Okay, guys, this is gonna wrap up our session, but for the rest of you who have questions, we're still around and you can definitely connect with each of us to ask what you need individually. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Let me get that one more time. That was a very, very full session. We had questions to the back door. Everybody will be here, so make sure you catch all of our speakers. We don't want anyone to feel like they can't get their question answered. So who's ready for lunch? Yeah, y'all ready? Y'all like, y'all not ready for lunch? So I got one person ready for lunch. That's it. Girl, I'm with you. Me and you, I'm with you. I'm ready too. Before we go to lunch, before we break for lunch, really quickly, I just want to introduce a couple special people. They don't really know that we're going to do this, but if you purchase a VIP ticket, so Jevon, Michelle, Crystal, right here, yep, that would be you. Ann Trishelle, LaShawn, yeah, could y'all come up to the stage for me real quick? I just want everyone to know who's in the building. Give us a little quick introduction. Actually, Michelle's going to give you a mic. You could actually do it from there. Come on. A little bit about you, a little bit about your business, like 1 minute.
What's up? How y'all doing? I'm Ann Trishelle, the electric personality, digital and social media manager for the University of Houston downtown. And this is cool. Thank you. I'm gonna organize chaos. I love the mic. If you put me on the spot, I'm just gonna give you what's off the top of my head. It may not always be as eloquent, so what's up?
Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal Benson. I am the founder and creative director of Clickbait, and we are a creative agency that helps brands tell their story on social and in real life. And if you've looked at Alma Social, I am the one taking over for today. So, hi.
Hello, everyone. I am Yvonne Ngomi, and I'm a registered nurse by trade, but I'm also the Airbnb startup queen. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. So I help people learn and get started with Airbnb and learn how to make passive income. And I've been doing this now for a few years. And yeah, so if you need your Airbnb, come holler at your girl.
Good afternoon. No, I was not planning on coming up here, but my name is LaShawn Tiller, and I am here from Atlanta, Georgia, representing Spelman College. We have a new online platform. It's a upskilling certificate for men, women, all races, online, and I do a little bit of everything, as you know, at HBCUs. That's what we do. So I'm here to learn and make new connections and see how we can partner and to make my job a little easier. So thank you.
How's everybody? My name is Michael Thomas. I'm the creative director and owner of Creative and Cool Agency. We help purpose-based brands and higher education institutions. I'm also a consultant at AOT and University of Minnesota, so that's what I do. I'm just here to kind of like enjoy this Black excellence.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank y'all very much. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna break for lunch. Lunch is gonna be out here in the hallway. It's self-serve, and then you can come back in here and eat. You can eat somewhere else on the campus.